Good evening, everybody. Mary Hunt here at Water and with my colleague Lisa, who is doing the IT tonight. And this is the second Water Meditation for 2024. And we are so happy to have with us Katie Lacz from the Women's Ordination Conference. Last month at this time, our friend Brad Lutz proposed to us the theme Beauty, an invitation to a year of wonder. And as I heard Cynthia Tootle get on tonight and say how she was feeling so very positive about 2024, I couldn't help but remember that, Brad, that you really gave us the idea of that. I have found myself so many times this month following your lead, seeing the amazing beauty in our world despite the serious challenges we face. And they are serious. So the beauty helps. And I want to thank you, Brad, for bringing that to our attention in such a profound way as you did. And for those who are new, all of our meditations are online under Water Programs and Water Meditation, so you can go and look at that for yourself. Tonight, Women's Ordination Conference Program Director Katie Lacz will spark communal meditation with her reflection on the life and the artwork of Alma Woodsey Thomas, the first African-American woman to have a solo show at the Whitney in New York. She will ask something like, how do we transform energy with our own limbs and with our own spirits? Let us begin, as we always do at Water, with the land acknowledgement. This is something that we've incorporated into our programs to remind ourselves of why we do what we do and what we need to do more of, given the systemic injustice Indigenous and other peoples of color face in this country. A land acknowledgement, as you know, is a beginning, not an end, but it is at least one more moment to reflect on our history and to commit to justice making. So I begin. We at Water are on Indigenous land in Silver Spring, Maryland. This is the traditional and contemporary land of the Piscataway and Anacostan peoples. We acknowledge the trauma and injustice toward Indigenous people that is so deep in U.S. culture and history. We join in efforts to eradicate it and to make reparations for the genocide involved. Water's work, whether intellectual, spiritual, or liturgical, is aimed to bring about social justice. So I invite you just for a moment to consider the Native American people on whose land you sit, in whatever country you're in. And if you'd like or feel moved, put it in the chat just so that we have a list of those people and we say their names as we read them to ourselves. Just take a minute to do that. Good evening again, and thank you for participating in that prayer. Our presenter tonight will offer something brief, usually 7 to 8 minutes, and it will spark our contemplation. And then we spend 22 minutes in silence together. So listen for the gong. It sounds like that, which will begin and eventually end our time of meditation. When we move into meditation, you're welcome to turn your screen off if you want, and there will be a visual on the screen if that helps you with your meditation. And of course, it's by the artist whose work is being considered tonight. After the silence, we'll open the floor for conversation, and if you have any comment that you want to make, that would be the time to do it. Enjoy the image, enjoy the silence, and certainly enjoy what Katie has to say. Meditate as you will. There's no right way to find your center. There's no right way to breathe or to focus. Some people find repeating a mantra useful. Others simply seek to return to their breath as they contemplate. I find it useful to let the stillness of body and mind lead me where it will. Please mute your Zoom now so that we have this good clear line. Katie, leave yours open, and then when it's time for the conversation, we will unmute them. I'm delighted to welcome you, Katie, to lead us tonight. I want to use your words to let us know who you are. I quote, Katie Lacz works as the program director for the Women's Ordination Conference, the oldest and largest organization advocating for the ordination of women as deacons, priests, and bishops in an inclusive and accountable Roman Catholic Church. Katie has previously ministered to young people, exploring the intersection of faith and social justice, and she's worked as a community organizer against the death penalty in North Carolina. Katie earned her Master of Divinity from the Jesuit School of Theology of Santa Clara University in Berkeley. She's a spiritual director and a writer, and she lives outside of Boulder, Colorado with her husband, 2 children, and a greyhound. I might add that she's well regarded in Catholic feminist circles for her commitment and for her creativity. We work together through the Women Church Convergence. So it's a pleasure to have you with us in the Water Circle tonight, Katie. And I thank you in advance for introducing us to the work of Alma Woodsey Thomas as a source for meditation. Thanks, Katie. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thanks for those kind words. It's a pleasure to be with you all tonight. So a few years ago, we at the Women's Ordination Conference held a virtual retreat for Pentecost called She Went Up in a Flame. The title referenced a passage from the non-canonical book of the Acts of Philip, in which Mary Magdalene is protected by fire. She literally goes up in a flame when she is attacked by townspeople for preaching and traveling with men who are not her relatives. During the retreat, we explored the Pentecost story and what it means for women to act as prophetic flames, bearing the Spirit's fire of justice to a world and a church sorely in need of it. And we paired this with the work of the artist Alma Woodsey Thomas, whose abstract art provided sparks of inspiration and an invitation to move with freedom into our own artistic practice as prayer. Before the retreat, I had not been familiar with Alma Woodsey Thomas. If you're lucky, you already know her, but maybe you aren't familiar with her either. So I'll share a little bit of information about her life and her work to situate us for this time of meditation. I'll just share my screen. Okay. Alma Woodsey Thomas was born in Columbus, Georgia in 1891. But when she was 16, her family moved to Washington, D.C., seeking relief from the racial violence in the South. As a girl, Thomas dreamed of being an architect, but there were few opportunities for women architects at the time. She was also always inspired by the patterns and the colors she noticed in the natural world around her. So she attended Howard University, becoming its first fine arts graduate in 1924. After she graduated, she began a 4-decade career teaching art at DC public schools, where she was devoted to her students. Teaching allowed her to support herself while pursuing her own painting part-time. So after she retired from this 4-decade career, she almost gave up painting because she had developed arthritis. But Howard University wanted to do a retrospective of her work, and she was determined to create new paintings for the exhibition. And so she developed this abstract style of dashes of bright color, almost mosaic-like, for which she became famous. Her first retrospective exhibition at Howard was when she was 75 years old. She continued to gain fame for her vibrant work, and in 1972 became the first Black woman to have a solo exhibition at the Whitney Museum of American Art, and she was 81 years old. Her arthritis limited her ability to make paintings the size that she wanted, as large as she wanted. But in 1976, she painted a 13-foot-long abstract mural with the fabulous title of Red Azaleas Singing and Dancing Rock and Roll Music. Writer Alex Greenberger describes it this way. This painting is composed of 3 canvases, each of them lined with red-orange forms. The colored shapes are arranged into jagged, arcing patterns, causing them to appear to move before one's eyes. When she debuted this painting at a show in 1976, she said, "Do you see that painting? Look at it move. That's energy, and I'm the one who put it there. I transform energy with these old limbs of mine." What immediately struck me when I was first introduced to Alma Woodsey Thomas's paintings was their vibrancy of color and the sensation of movement and rhythm coming through so strongly in just paint on canvas. After this retreat, we actually ended up buying the print that you see there and putting it on our kitchen wall. And it provides me with this moment of joy when I see it in the midst of our chaotic, messy life with young kids. She transforms my energy. What strikes me when I spend time with her work too is that the movement, vibrancy, and energy don't just come from the bright colors. It comes from the white space in between, providing a sense of rhythm and clarity, the equivalent of the beats between notes of music. The color would not come through in the same way without the white space to breathe and move in. Alma Woodsey Thomas was no stranger to hardship and ugliness. She lived through world wars, genocide, the Great Depression, Jim Crow, and the racism she faced simply by virtue of existing as a Black woman. But she kept herself attuned to beauty, which she found both in nature and in her awe of the increasing knowledge of outer space that was being gained at the height of her career. Her limbs transformed the energy of her world into these dynamic, lively testaments to beauty. So I imagine that I might not be alone in admitting that I am finding it hard to stay attuned to beauty in this moment in the world. The ugliness, violence, and atrocities of the world feel very, very present and pervasive. My soul, and even sometimes my limbs, feel heavy with the weight of it. But I wonder what Alma and her paintings have to teach us. I wonder where the spirit is inviting me and inviting you to transform energy with our limbs, whether they are young or old or in between. How do we transform energy that is destructive or chaotic into that rhythm of brightness and color, whether literally or figuratively? Can we trust that the spirit that hovered over chaos and breathed it into creation moves through the rhythms of our souls, our limbs, with the same energy to transform? So, my invitation to you is to sit with this spirit who energizes our limbs and our souls, to breathe with the one who has given us the rhythm of our breath. Allow yourself to be open to where you might be called to transform energy around you or be transformed by the energizing spirit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie Lacz, for this presentation, and thank you, Alma Woodsey Thomas. And now let us all move into meditation as we too seek to transform energy. We'll return in 22 minutes. Welcome back. Thank you for your participation in the communal silence. I want to offer again a special thanks to Katie Lacz for bringing the life and the work of Alma Woodsey Thomas to our group this evening, or this morning if you're in Australia, which is where some of our friends are. So it could be morning, it could be evening, but thank you.